Today I'll explain a Hong Kong Chinese culinary drama film called CookUpAStorm. The story revolves around a famous local restaurant, The Seven, in Spring Avenue, Hong Kong. The talented chef, Sky Ko, specializes in Southern-style cuisine. A TV host features the 30-year-old restaurant and its chef on a culinary program. Sky showcases his talent on national television, despite already being the most renowned chef in Spring Avenue. Alongside him, his friend Uni is introduced. She primarily handles the restaurant's finances. Sky is extremely particular about food quality and service time, contributing to the restaurant's immense popularity. Most of the time, it's so packed that a queue forms outside. That day, a rude customer barges in, cutting the line. Sky refuses to serve him, even as the customer boasts. In France, the crowned king and queen celebrate their newborn son's arrival with a grand ball, inviting a world-class chef to prepare the meal. Enter Paul An, a Michelin-starred Korean chef trained in France. Paul's innovative cooking style blends flavors across cultures. For his chef's special, he presents the queen. The next morning, Paul arrives in Hong Kong and visits the market in search of a large grouper fish. The seller has just one and decides to sell it to Sky, knowing he'll prepare it best. Paul objects, arguing that a shopkeeper should remain impartial. A small argument ensues before the seller compromises, cutting the fish in half for both chefs. Weeks later, the grand opening of Stellar, the 3-star restaurant opposite the Seven, takes place. The chairman and manager of the Lee management group arrive as fierce guests and are welcomed by Paul and Mayo. Simultaneously, the Seven announces discount offers to retained customers. Stellar's security tries to stop them, escalating into a conflict that attracts Paul and the guests' attention. Amidst the heated exchange, Mayo suggests a competition to determine the superior chef. Sky and Paul, recognizing each other from the market, accept. They compete in a fish-cutting challenge. Paul swiftly removes all the fish ribs, while Sky follows by slicing the fish into perfect pieces in under a minute. The crowd applauds, even impressing Paul. The Lee chairman withholds judgment, stating that the International Chef Challenge will be the true test. He then reveals his plan to demolish Spring Avenue for modernization. If Sky wins, the heritage will be preserved. If Paul wins, redevelopment will proceed. With the future of his home at stake, Sky feels immense pressure but remains determined. In the following days, the Seven struggles, losing customers to Stellar. Uni fears bankruptcy, but Sky remains confident. He compares their situation to escargots and field snails. Some people will always prefer one over the other. They don't need to change. Their unique flavors will still attract customers. The next must then defeat the two-time champion, Mountain Co. Sky's estranged father. Shocked by his father's success, Sky is even more determined to reach the finals. That night, Uncle Seven returns from a trip and invites Sky to a pub. Excited, Sky rushes over only to find Mountain there. Mountain coldly declares he still sees no talent in Sky and doesn't regret leaving him. Sky is devastated but masks his pain with anger, vowing to win and prove that a great chef doesn't need to be a terrible person. On the day of the competition, contestants have 90 minutes to prepare a dish. Sky crafts a traditional salt-baked duck, while Paul creates foie gras sorbet. Both display remarkable expertise. When Sky unveils his dish, the audience gasps at his flawless execution. The judges seem more impressed by his duck than Paul's sorbet. When scores are revealed, Paul earns 3 9s and a perfect 10, totaling 37 points. Sky gets 2 10s, a 9, and an 8, tying with Paul. The head judge makes the final call. Paul wins, citing superior presentation. Paul's victory should solidify his status, but things take an unexpected turn. During the celebration, the Stellar manager replaces Paul with Mayo for the finals, claiming a female chef is more marketable. When Paul protests, Mayo exposes his secret as he struggles to taste certain flavors, relying on a notebook of recipes. She admits she never supported him, only using him to surpass him. Betrayed, Paul storms out, leaving everything behind. That night, Sky finds a drunken Paul outside an event stadium. The rivals set aside differences and share their struggles. Paul's father, a great chef, wanted Paul to follow in his footsteps. Sky opens up about Mountain's abandonment. They bond over their pain, even cursing at Mountain's billboard. Paul refuses to quit. Since Stellar rejected him, he registers as an independent competitor, inviting Sky to join him for the semifinals. Meanwhile, Stellar's manager pressures Uncle Seven to sell his restaurant. Just then, Sky and Paul announce their partnership, with Paul reminding everyone that as the previous winner, he is still eligible to compete. In the following weeks, Sky and Paul reign together, blending their styles, Sky's mastery of flavors and Paul's artistic techniques. The semi-finals take place at Studio City Casino in Macau. The winner will face Mountain Co., the reigning god of cookery. Sky and Paul compete against top chefs, including Mayo. She prepares an oyster dish with frozen foam, which initially impresses the judges but ultimately falls flat. Meanwhile, Sky and Paul craft a deconstructed mapo tofu as Sky refines the flavors, while Paul perfects the presentation. Their dish stuns the judges, securing their victory. Paul looks at Mayo, who stands in shame, realizing her betrayal was in vain. For the finals, only one chef can compete against Mountain. Acknowledging Sky's personal stake in the battle, Paul steps aside. On competition day, father and son exchange no words. Mountain begins cooking immediately, but Sky is distracted by memories of abandonment. To snap him out of it, Mountain splashes water on his face. Regaining focus, Sky begins making dough. Mountain creates an elaborate sugar display, while Sky prepares a simple yet meaningful dish of handmade noodles, just like the ones Mountain once made before leaving him. When judging begins, Sky doesn't present his dish to the panel, he gives it to Mountain. The taste overwhelms Mountain with nostalgia, forcing him to acknowledge Sky's talent. The winner remains unclear. Later, the community gathers at the 7 for Chinese New Year, enjoying a meal prepared by Sky and Paul, now united as family. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and leave a like to support the channel. Thanks for watching.